There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. I hold it to be of great prudence for men to abstain their threats and insulting words towards anyone. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. The more an injury is contemplated, the greater is the displeasure it rouses. I hold it to be of great prudence for men to abstain from threats and insulting words towards anyone, for neither the one nor the other in any way diminishes the strength of the enemy, but the one makes him more cautious, and the other increases his hatred of you and makes him more persevering in his efforts to injure you. He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done, sooner or later, accomplishes his ruin. A prudent man must behave like those archers who, if they are skillful, when the target seems too distant, know the capabilities of their bow and aim a good deal higher than their objective. Not in order to shoot so high, but so that by aiming high they can reach the target. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. The more sand has escaped from the hourglass of our life, the clearer we should see through it. A sign of intelligence is an awareness of one's own ignorance. The end justifies the means. Never was anything great achieved without danger. The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise that the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. In the end, what prevails is not the power of armies, but the power of ideas. It is far better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise. The greatest remedy that is used against the plan of the enemy is to do voluntarily what he plans that you do by force. The best fortress which a prince can possess is the affection of his people. To know in war how to recognize an opportunity and seize it is better than anything else. Hence, it comes about that all armed prophets have been victorious and all unarmed prophets have been destroyed. And since there is hope, they should not despair, no matter what fortune brings or in what travail they find themselves. If the king has around him either too many lovers of peace or too many lovers of war, they will cause him to err to ensure victory. The troops must have confidence in themselves as well as in their commanders. It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver. The fact is that a man who wants to act virtuously in every way necessarily comes to grief among so many who are not virtuous. Good order makes men bold and confusion cowards. Whoever wishes to foresee the future must consult the past, for human events ever resemble those of preceding times. This arises from the fact that they are produced by men who ever have been and ever shall be animated by the same passions, and thus they necessarily have the same results. He who is fixed to a star does not change his mind. It is not the power itself, but the manner of using it, that determines whether it's good or bad. A wise ruler should rely on what is under his own control, not on what is under the control of others. Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. You must never believe that the enemy does not know how to conduct his own affairs. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Every one sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are. Of mankind we may say in general they are fickle, hypocritical, and greedy of gain. Wars begin when you will, but they do not end when you please. I assert once again as a truth to which history as a whole bears witness that men may second their fortune, but cannot oppose it, that they may weave its warp, but cannot break it. They should never give up because there is always hope, though they know not the end and move towards it along roads which cross one another and as yet are unexplored. It is not enough to have a good mind. The main thing is to use it well. It is much safer to be feared than loved because love is preserved by the link of obligation which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. But fear preserves you by a dread of punishment which never fails. The first method of estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. since the handling of arms is a beautiful spectacle. It is delightful to young men. It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. Nature creates few men brave, industry and training makes many. War is just when it is necessary. Arms are permissible when there is no hope except in arms. Politics have no relation to morals. There is nothing is likely to succeed as what the enemy believes. You cannot attempt. The reply is that one ought to be both feared and loved, but as it is difficult for the two to go together, it is much safer to be feared than loved. If one of the two has to be wanting, no enterprise is more likely to succeed than one concealed from the enemy until it is ripe for execution. Men intrinsically do not trust new things that they have not experienced themselves. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. It is better to be bold than too circumspect, because fortune is of the nature of a woman, and the man who would control her must be at her mercy. The first and the greatest punishment of the sinner is the conscience of sin. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Before all else, be armed. There is no surer sign of decay in a country than to see the rights of religion held in contempt. One change always leaves the way open for the establishment of others. And above all, you ought to guard against leading an army to fight, which is afraid or which is not confident of victory. For the greatest sign of an impending loss is when one does not believe one can win.